1, 2, 3. Nailed it. Hello and welcome into the Section 109 podcast from Studio Breezy. We're here to celebrate the NISA regular season champions, Matthew, Chattanooga Football Club.
Chattanooga's first professional National League sports trophy.
Tell me about that.
That's it. It's Chattanooga's first professional league National League sports trophy. The Lookouts have won some pennants in some Southern leagues and stuff like that.
But it's all the Southern League.
But it's always been the Southern League. Once in like 1932, they won something called the Dixie League, which was the winner of the Southern League versus the winner of the Texas League.
But nothing with the North or California included.
Nothing that brought everything together. So I guess I think AAA does that. I don't know if AA does that or not.
We are also the only team in Chattanooga city limits to play in a National League. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, true.
All right. So let's talk about the game and how it went. But first, let's talk about lineups. Well,
so reminder for folks, it's a 2-0 win in Rochester. And just my overall thoughts on the game before we actually get to the roster and stuff like that. I thought we played pretty well. I thought it was well managed. I thought it was very professional. It was a clear step forward, and we also had the benefit of watching the game today before recording, knowing the result, which I think helped a lot.
Yeah. That first half would have been rough emotionally had we not already known the result when watching.
Yeah,
not because we were poor. I think we were actually decent in the first half, but because we didn't score
and we didn't have any shots. But there was just so much danger adjacent stuff there.
And danger adjacent in a different way than Savannah, a little step forward from...
Yeah,
actually,
absolutely.
I would say an actual step forward from Savannah, and a big step forward, or maybe even 2 steps forward from where we were like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the lineup now. Jean-Antoine in goal, no surprise there. Sebastian Capizzucci stays at right back.
He appears to be the starting right back now, with Colin Stripling still out with injury.
Yeah, Anatoly, Aiden Bowers, Joseph Perez, Richard Dixon, McGrath, Luis Garcia Sosa, Mattia Wape came back into the team as the starter at right wing. Jesus Ibarra on the left wing. Marcus Nagelstad at striker. There aren't a lot of surprises, really, truly anymore.
No, this appears to be the first choice 11 for Rod Underwood, apart from maybe Sebastian being an injury first choice 11 guy. But this has been the one we've rolled out for a while. Even the subs are the same subs that it's been for a while, which was Beto in the 90th, Lenny in the 90th, and that was actually one at a time, each of them in separate windows, and Juan Luis in the 86th. Juan Luis coming in for Jesus, Beto coming in for Luis, and those two substitutions are basically the normal substitutes, quote unquote, other than it's Jesus that comes out and not Mattia Wape, but Juan Luis has been coming in on the wing. But then the kind of wild one was Lenny Lopez coming in for Mattia Wape, which isn't like crazy. You're just putting in another big body to do the running and head the ball out and whatever else. But it was just interesting to see that. And he got, his customary 1 to 10 minutes at the end of the game.
Yeah. So let's... there's 2 goals in this game. Let's go ahead and just cover those, get them out of the way.
Sure, let's do it.
50th minute or so, it's Marcus Nagelstad. 2 goals in 2 games for him.
Both from the run of play.
Yeah, both from the run of play. I think the sequence that sets up this first goal is a good one. While we were danger adjacent in the first half, and I had some moments where like a good touch. Or like just the right touch on a pass or whatever.
What minute did we score in?
Like the 50th.
So the first 5 minutes of the second half, when we were watching, you were counting shots, and we had 4 shots in like the first 5 minutes or so.
We had a shot. I think it was the free kick that happened right after the goal, and I think that was the 5th shot in 6 minutes to come out of the gate in the second half.
And something that you said, or I said, maybe, I don't know, one of us said, was that I think Rod Underwood's halftime speech might have included shoot the fucking ball, because we just came out with that, like, nothing crazy, but like we were just, when the shot opened up, even if it wasn't perfect, we were taking it. And by the way, that's how we get the goal.
Yeah, so a nice sequence. Sebastian plays a really good ball. diagonally towards Mataya Mwape, who just takes his defender on, cuts inside, and lays the ball off kind of square to Marcus. They just play an easy 1-2. Marcus back to Mumu.
It starts as like a 2-on-5 and then ends up 2-on-2, which is awesome.
And Mumu's first touch takes the ball a little bit behind him, but he's able to collect it still, and then his third touch is the shot. And it's a little bit like kind of right at the keeper a little bit, but it also flat-foots the keeper.
The keeper can only parry it straight forward or slightly off to the side, but it's not like he doesn't parry it way out wide.
Yeah, and in doing so, partially because his first touch, Mumu needed time to collect the ball before he shot it, and partly because the keeper's parry is relatively soft. Marcus just has time, and to his credit, like
makes a really smart run.
Makes a really smart run.
Hey, it's Marcus doing Marcus Fox in the box shit again
to clean things up, and then he just kind of chips the keeper, resettles it, and taps the ball in for what I think will go down in Chris Nugent's XG graph as a 1.0 shot chance.
I'm sure it's not a 1.0, but it's pretty fucking close. It's nice that the second game in a row we've seen Fox in the box shit. The thing that we always said is Marcus shit, and like this was that. Like it's being in the right place, the right time, it's making a smart run, it's popping up, and it's doing the thing you need to do to score. That's really good. You could see the confidence that Marcus had in this game. He looked different than he's looked the past few games. You could just see he was feeling it, and not just him. Like actually, the team, you could see the whole team looked more confident. And something you said before last game was that we just needed to see the ball hit the back of the net, and I really think you see that from these last two games. Once the ball hit the back of the net against Savannah, even though like it wasn't like this giant beatdown of Savannah like we would have liked it to be, it was a solid win. We got it done, but we played with more confidence once that first ball hit the back of the net in Savannah. We played with much more confidence in this game against a team that has quite frankly frustrated us 3 times this year. We've gotten the job done. Two of those times. Two wins and a draw. And then 2 wins and a draw. But it was those were hard fought, is my point. Like I would argue Flower City defensively has played us better than any other team all year. And in this game they lined up a little bit differently than they have before. They lined up to try to win because they needed 3 points. But we absolutely sliced and diced them. We didn't always get the shot, but we sliced and diced them most of the game. We got plenty of big chances in the second half, and we really were just back playing maybe not how we want to play at the end of the time. Like we're not to the end of our like journey of offense, but we are much closer than we were a couple weeks ago to hitting on maybe 5 of our 6 cylinders, not 6 of our 6 cylinders, instead of hitting on 3 cylinders and it being rocky.
Something we wanted to see from this last stretch of games heading into the playoffs was, number one, there was a job to do, and it was to accumulate enough points to be the regular season champions,
which we did. Shout out.
And we also, like, maybe almost more importantly, we wanted to make sure that the performances got better, and that whatever lull we were in, we played ourselves out of it. And so I thought, Gold Star was an incredibly rusty performance, right? Savannah was better. It didn't always come off well.
Yeah, Savannah wasn't good. It was encouraging,
but it was better. You could see that like there was different intent in terms of how to play.
Very different intent.
And while it didn't always come off, it was still like I was encouraged by that.
And something we saw in this game is we balanced that intent.
You look at
better.
You look at the first half, and although there were no shots, the intent was still there, and the chances that we were able to create, and again with no shots, were even more dangerous, I would argue, than the Savannah game.
Yeah. We were just getting, and if people are wondering,
like
kind of like,
one,
what do we mean by
little
that?
thing,
One touch away, which lets us down, or the defender just barely gets a foot on it, but the pass is really close, and it would have been 1-on-1 with the keeper. Or the touch goes wide, and the defender's able to get so it would be touch and then shot, and it'd be a great shot or a great chance rather, except for the defender just barely gets a poke on it. It was all these things just barely, so we couldn't quite get the shot. But it's different because we spent several weeks there.
It's a different type of danger adjacent.
Yes.
Because if not for one little touch by a defender or one touch for one of our players that lets us down in a moment, we're talking about full on Sirens air raid danger.
Hell yeah. I like that descriptor.
So it was so even the first half was encouraging, although frustrating, because you want those things to come off. And then in the second half, we start it in just an incredibly good way. They're immediately generating shots. Like small things, but sometimes small things lead to bigger things. And in fact, the goal comes off of one of those sequences. And then after the goal, like, we don't stop. Like, it's still waves and waves of pressure for the next 10 minutes or so until the red card. And in fact, like, we go probably another 8 minutes of just wave after wave of pressure, shot here, shot there, like, some really good play. And then Flower City finally gets into our attacking third for the first time, and has the ball for a couple minutes, isn't doing anything with it. They win a corner, we take care of business there, and then once we play out, is the red card sequence, and it's a really interesting one.
Yeah, let's talk about the red card.
So, I saw some chatter from our fan base, and I understand it entirely, that they thought, the red's a little bit soft. It's pretty fortunate. And I'm actually here to disagree with you. That's a nailed on, straight up red card. And the reason why it is, it's because it's a denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. I think obvious is extra words from me. It's just a denial of a goal scoring opportunity. But and yes, like, let's get it out of the way. There are two Flower City players that are like sort of kind of in the picture, except they're spread out so wide that when the first foul is committed, the red card is given for the first foul, not for the second foul. And you can tell that because the referee gives the card and then walks the play back to where the first foul occurred. What's his name? Gabriel Ortiz, like, tries to bear hug Luis, who fights through it.
Right. So, like, there's two fouls in the play from the same player in the same sequence. And that's the thing. Like, so if you just look at the second foul, which is much better executed, he actually pulls him down.
Right.
The second foul would not be DOGSO.
It's a yellow card because
it's a yellow card, but
the
players are getting back. But the reason those players are able to get back is right before that, he grabs him, holds him back for just a second. Luis fights through it, but that's a red card because at that point there were no defenders back, and Luis is in on goal to either pass it to Marcus or go in himself, and there's nobody to stop him.
CFC has uploaded the video to YouTube of the entire game. Shout out CFC for doing that. And if you pause it,
we all know Flower City can't be trusted to do that.
If you pause,
shout out missing game.
If you pause it on the moment that Ortiz's touch lets Luis steal it right off of him, and like, really, that's where the first foul occurs. You can see that all that has to happen because it's a bad turnover and it's in possession. So Flower City has two of their three center backs like flared out wide, big time. Yes. They're both out of the picture. Marcus is inside of both of them. I mean, like, one guy's not even close. There's one guy near Marcus, but Marcus is the inside line. All Luis has to do is just play a diagonal ball on the ground, like right to the top of the box, and Marcus is one-on-one.
And I agree with you, but
Luis can just
take 2 steps, and he's also at the top. Like, it's DOGSO, but again, it's only DOGSO because, and it only feels bad. And if, like, when I first watched it with you, I went, ooh, that's painful. Like, that hurts. Poor guy, unlucky. Like, and then we rewatched it, and if you go like frame by frame, you see that the foul happened first and where the defenders are, and then you see the second foul, which is the much more egregious one, that happens just after that, and it is actually, for once, a very good call.
It's letter of the law DOGSO, and if the referee had just decided to play advantage, and then give us the second foul, and give a yellow card, I think you can nitpick on it, but like, okay, like he played advantage, we got a little further, then there's another foul, like, I don't know, whatever. Like, it's maybe it should be red, but like, that's such is life. But like, no, he straight up said, like, that's a DOGSO moment. Is there advantage? There's not advantage. We're going back, and that's DOGSO. So I think like, you could tell the player was really frustrated by it, but also, like, that's how the game goes sometimes.
I think he's frustrated, yes, because he feels hard done by, but also because he made the turn,
and he made
the foul. It's all him the whole way.
Yeah, I mean, he's not yelling at the ref. Like,
no, he's just got his.
He knows that killed Flower City's chances of getting a win that they desperately need,
or a draw. Honestly,
anything that they desperately need, because now fate is not in their hands in the playoff picture. And that's not to say that, like, they're going to have any problems, because I don't think Club de Leon's going to suddenly pick up enough points to knock Flower City out of the playoffs. But like, Flower City cannot do anything else about this now. So
I agree with that. So let's and so the red card, that's
and then from when that happens, Flower City becomes absolutely just useless offensively, as is not terribly surprising. They still have to come out and pressure, so that leave gaps, they leave like openings, and we just carve them apart for really until the second goal, and then we just keep doing it for fun.
So something I want to talk about is in the first half, Flower City had a couple chances that felt very bad and felt very dangerous, but they actually weren't that dangerous. They were just like a decent shot. Diakate, the league's worst good striker, or worst producing striker rather, because he always gets a few goals, but he sucks.
He has a nice turn,
he has
a nice touch and turn, and close, a close shot that's not terribly. It's not going to go down as a massive chance on the XG charts, but like sometimes those go in, right?
So and then there's two more chances. There's one where Jean makes an excellent save that if you remember the details of, we can talk through.
Yeah.
And then there's also one where playing out of the back goes wrong on Twitter could have played that. So we have a moment basically towards the end of the game, and we'll rewind in a minute. I just want to talk about it's good to have a good shot stopper in goal, because Jean makes an excellent save one-on-one, which we can talk about. And then also at the end, he's covering the angle when we make a really bad pass straight to somebody at the top of the box who hits it first time that probably should bury it. I mean, it should have been 2-1.
There's two outside of the box chances in the first half, and our worst period of the game is probably minute 24 or so through about minute 40. Kind of a not great 15-minute stretch for us. And Flower City is able to generate the Diakate chance, a Luke Ferreira chance. I think Cartagena also has a chance, although that might be a little bit earlier. And none of those hit the target, but they were like sometimes low percentage chances go in, and like they weren't necessarily completely covered off where it was a problem. Like a good shot might actually go in. And then there's the Luke Ferreira chance that John saves on a counterattack. And some of our passing in that stretch was particularly sloppy, and that's why Flower City was able to regain possession and have some opportunities. And then we were just top notch in the second half until like some of our closing down or decision making up 2 goals, up a man in the last 10 minutes of the game left a little bit to be desired. Where you just got to know better.
You just got to go along with that ball.
But also we're nitpicking here because we nitpick a lot. And there's also just not a lot to be mad about.
Exactly. And here's the thing that I am happy about. The only big chances we're conceding still, like truly big chances, even though that one Jean excellent save, like it's also at a pretty tight angle.
It's actually not a huge chance.
It's a tight angle. It's a decent shot, and Jean makes a great save.
And shout out to JP, because JP tracks that and shapes the Ferreira's run with the ball to a less dangerous part of the field.
But if you look at our past 2 games, the only big chances we've allowed are self-inflicted. And
Correct.
all season, I think you can see that, which isn't for me to, I'm not here to criticize the team. I'm just saying we're playing so well that the chances we are nitpicking.
That's good.
Right. Our defense is so good. Yeah, our defense is so good that we just don't allow big chances that aren't self-inflicted. So just mentioning them.
I want to give a special shout out to the wingers defensively. And I'll include Marcus in there in terms of his running from up top. Like there was some really, really good tracking back. There was some really good straight up like one-on-one defending, and also like adding numbers to collapse defensively. There was some really good stuff. There was a lot of stuff to be actually really happy with.
I agree.
In that game, especially because that game could have been Flower City Bunker's place for a point. And actually they come out and they played. And, I think at times they gave us a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of something to work through, and we worked through that, and that's also a really good sign.
I want to highlight 2 things that I saw that was evident from our offense. In this game, it was better. We played quicker. The last 2 games, it's been the case, but in this game especially, we played much quicker. We recycled the ball quicker. We played more one touch. We attacked in sync and in tandem, but quicker. We were just, the rhythm was better.
Yeah,
we weren't quite so slow and methodical.
Very, very rhythmic.
The joke that is made a million times in this podcast and elsewhere, the possession without penetration is masturbation joke. Like we didn't do a lot of that because we were continually penetrating with intent. So we were getting, if we weren't getting shots, we were still danger adjacent, one touch away, et cetera, et cetera. We have at times this season been really slow and methodical in possession and not had any sort of penetration, but we were very penetrating with our passes. And that goes into my next point, which is passes into the box. We were regularly in this game passing the ball into the box. It wasn't always being completed, but it was it was forward, or it was sideways, or it was diagonal, or whatever. But it was into the box regularly, including occasionally across in the air first time. And when we vary those up, and when we're attacking with intent, we're being brave, which was your word when we were rewatching. That is different. That is an evolution from a few weeks ago. We are braver, and we were more balanced in this game. And look, we're not there yet, and we have to be better than we were today in order for us to feel good about our chances of winning in the playoffs.
He said today because it happened for him today.
Because the game happened for me today, because I watched it today. But also, we are trending in the right direction, and I feel very, very, very good about the trend of the team. I feel good about the confidence of the team, and I'm just glad to see this response, because this is exactly the response I think we wanted to see.
I was just going to mention the underlapping runs. The
Absolutely.
balls being played for an underlapping run into the box.
Which happened repeatedly.
Because the crosses that happen from those angles, especially like cutbacks from those angles, are just, if you get a shot up tempo off, it's a massively high chance. And I mean, think about the JP chance in the 80s. In the second half, you've got the Luis Garcia Sosa chance in the first half that his touch lets him down on. If he settles that thing, it's a shot or it's a cutback for Marcus. There's just a lot of and we mentioned one of those, I think, to either Luis or Beto in the Savannah game last week. Mm-hmm. But that's
we saw
something.
We saw the same thing we saw last week, the same intent that we saw against Savannah,
and we saw it a couple times from the right side towards Alex.
But we were just a little sharper. Yeah. We weren't to our max, we weren't to our sharpest, but we were sharper. It was a step forward.
The rhythm's good. The rhythm's getting better, and I think you're seeing the quality is starting to really show up, and that's going to matter in a playoff scenario where, you don't have to be amazing. You just have to stop us from scoring.
So look, we went over, we had that quick little update that we published about what we knew was possible with the points that were remaining. And it turned out in that Michigan and LA game, for anyone who didn't see, in the 101st minute, that is the 11th minute of stoppage time, 90 plus 11, mm-hmm. the Michigan was able to score and beat LA. So Michigan remained within striking distance of us if they continued to win out, and we lost. And so we still needed a win last night, and winning was what we needed to do to clinch it. For those that may forget, all of our titles, I know we kind of mentioned this at the beginning, but all of our previous titles were even when we went in 2016 as the number one seed in the country, either we went in as a number one seed or in the playoffs early on somebody lost.
We went in as a number one seed, but it all came from
it's
points per game based on our region.
Points per game based on region. So we won a region championship going into the play. We didn't win a national. There was no national NPSL finals winner until you went to the playoffs. Obviously, we need to win the playoffs. That is the next step here, and no one is negating that. The playoffs are more important. I would rather lose the regular season and win the playoffs than vice versa.
Correct.
Obviously want to win both, but it is worth just pausing a moment, not stopping, but pausing a moment to celebrate what we've accomplished this season, what Rod and the team have accomplished this season. This is a really big milestone. We won it with 2 games still to play for us in the regular season, which is great. And it's a real accomplishment for this team, for these guys. And something that you can see is that these guys have unfinished business still to go, right? But also they have such a tight locker room, and it's such a good group that isn't content with just this. You can see it from the posts on Instagram. You can see it from the posts on the, just in general on the internet, but you can also see it from the way they celebrate together. When Marcus scores, you have Lenny running down the line. Lenny, who could be potentially competing with him in another circumstance, right? And I'm sure they're competitive as competitors, but could be negative and maybe not happy that your battery mate scored, because that means you're going to play less potentially. And this is all other situations, but it's very clear we don't have that type of adversarial thing going on in this team, because you see Lenny's the first one to greet him. When Marcus does the dance, Lenny does the dance too. It's the first big embrace. The whole team, you can just, you can just feel it from the outset that this team is really playing for each other. And Rod talked about it, about leadership and how much they cared about how the guys are off the field. And there are no guarantees. Playoff soccer is a fickle thing.
Yeah.
But this team is going in as the best team in the league. Clearly, the stats show it. When you go to the table and you look at our goal difference, you look at our wins and everything else. But also, they're going in as a united group, not as a group that's warring and coming out of this period of time. A team that's less tight could have fractured.
Yeah. I would also just say that I think this team knows what the objective is.
I do too.
And I think they set out really well baby steps. So It's develop a style, play with that style, get better with that style. Can we get points with that style? Can we now put ourselves, in playoff position as fast as possible? Can we give ourselves a home game in the playoffs as fast as possible? Can we secure a semifinal? Okay, now what's the next thing? Let's go ahead and clinch the title. Now, can we continue to and some of these things have to happen at the same time, but okay, we had kind of a rough stretch of form in games. Can we build on that? Can we get a little bit sharper, get a little bit more rhythm and flow to our game? Can we grow a little bit through a little bit of adversity? Can we also, get a massive 3 points in Savannah that set everything else up? Okay, now, can we watch what happens with LA and Michigan? So can we win the regular season title? So with 2 games to go in the regular season, the next steps are, can we continue to get better so that when November 5 comes around, playoff semifinal, no matter who the opponent is, no matter how they want to play, do they want to bunker? Do they want to come out and play with us? Do they want to high press us? Whatever, do they want to compress midfield in a mid block? Whatever they want to do, can we go out and play our game, break them down in our way, limit their chances, maximize our chances, and ultimately win a semifinal, and then do the same thing in the final, right? Those are the next steps. Can we get a little bit better, and then a little bit better, and then can we just win when it matters? And so little by little, step by step, this team's been building all season to something, and
now the next thing is win a semifinal at home,
right? And honestly, it's playoffs, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be charged emotionally and mentally, and good teams just have to play through the tough times and keep composed and be prepared, and that's what we're building towards.
So if you're cool with this, I have a question for you, and then we can go to our 3 key takeaways. Well, I actually have two kind of topics, and then we'll go to our key takeaways.
Okay.
Do you feel like we talked about the goals enough? Did we talk through Luis's enough?
We did not talk about Luis's goal. It's just a really good sequence of wave after wave of pressure. Flower City just does enough to stop that wave, clears it. We win the ball back. We go again. Really nice sequence from Sebastian to just play a big square ball to Joseph Perez. Also, there's some really good work from Dixon and McGrath winning the ball or maintaining possession at the top of the box. And the recycle happens. JP plays a great ball in for Luis. And Luis just sees the keeper a little off his line, takes a chance, maybe gets a little deflected help, I'm not sure. And it drops. And sometimes, okay, a little bit of fortune, but that's part of the game. And for what we created in that game, we deserved a second goal. So you don't care how it happens. Speaking
of creation, I just want to point out the JP chance that was probably the biggest chance of the game for us. That just it happens. It's a bad touch. I'm not here to criticize that, but it's a 12 pass sequence. We used 12 passes to cut.
Yeah.
Bing, we counted them. Bing, 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 all the way through to a cut back in the box. That is what Rod Underwood wants.
I think if that chance goes in, whether JP's first touch is good and he can hit it with the second touch cleanly, or if he takes the first touch as a shot, I think that's the kind of goal that you look back at, say last year's away Albion 15 pass sequence goal and say, that's what we're looking for.
That's what it was. And it's the first time in a while we've seen a big long sequence result in a high quality chance like that.
Yeah.
And that chance does not show up on the XG stat sheet for the most part. I mean, I guess maybe you count that as a shot.
No, it's a shot because he hits side netting with it.
That's true. It's just it's a miscontrol. But my point being is it's
a better chance if he had hit it first time.
Yeah.
But still that's the type of chance we want to generate. And yes, they were down a man, and yes, they had some pressure, and we were able to play through it. But also, that's really good stuff.
Agreed.
And it's stuff that we haven't always seen from the team.
Especially the last little while. Okay, last thing before we get to our 3 key takeaways. There's something going on with George and the Stars and an LA fight and Bob and maybe some Albion shenanigans. So let's not take too long to celebrate because we're here to celebrate CFC, but there's some serious NISA wild shit that's going on right now. So the other night in the Albion game, I'll set the table and let you take it.
Do you want to talk about the LA game first?
That's what I meant. Sorry. In the LA game, So Michigan, first of all, is on an insane schedule. Do you want to lay out their schedule?
Yeah, we kind of did this in the last pod, but basically they had to play at home on Thursday versus LA, away on Sunday versus Albion, and then they are away on Wednesday and Saturday versus Club de Leon. Just kind of playing back to back. And that's just like
a lot of travel.
That's 4
coast
games,
to
coast to coast. They're probably not going home in the middle of that. And it's 4 games in 9 days? I mean, that's fucking crazy, first off.
It's wild. So it starts off with that huge LA-Michigan matchup, and it's 0-0 going into the 11th minute of stoppage time in the second half. Michigan gets a goal on a header.
It was not a header.
It was not a header? It was just in a corner?
It was off of a corner,
by the way,
but like...
I haven't watched.
It's a corner. It's like kind of clear, but it's not. There's like a block in there, and like it's a wild sequence of play.
So I haven't watched it, clearly. But there's a big celebration, and then when the whistle blows at the end of the game,
yeah,
right,
when the whistle blows, it all kicks off.
There's a big brouhaha.
Well, you've also got like, in the goal celebration.
I've seen bits of that, the brouhaha. I've watched the important parts.
In the goal celebration, one of the Michigan assistant coaches is on celebrating on the other side of the field.
Is it the one that's told us to go fuck ourselves?
Yes, it's the same guy. He ran across the field to celebrate the goal. I'm pretty sure there's a yellow card given to him afterwards. I think the second half or the restart happens and the whistle gets blown fairly quickly after that, and then all hell breaks loose. You've got like LA assistant coaches or coaches, I don't really know.
I wonder if
sprinting at officials.
I wonder if it's the same assistant coach that threatened to kick me out of the game twice.
That guy's not an assistant coach. That's a ball boy. You've got LA coaches like sprinting at the officials. You've got an LA bench player like sucker punching a Michigan player.
Which, by the way, Michigan is normally the team that sucker punches somebody. So this is quite the turn of events.
Yeah, and you've got like some wild Michigan stuff happening too. You've got an assistant coach that's... Ooh, hang on. That was weird in my ears. You've got an assistant coach, we're fine now, that has been previously suspended for his role in sucker punching someone at a CFC game.
Phil D'Amico.
A couple years ago. Yeah, he sucker punched Phil D'Amico.
And Brian Beamett did the Lord's work and punched him.
Right.
In protecting his teammate.
But like, that's an assistant coach running onto the field to sucker punch somebody. This is a couple years ago. You see him like being held back by one of his players trying to get at somebody. You've got like 3 different battlefronts that are going on. And like, it's honestly hard to tell what's going on there, but like, to no one's surprise, the league never issued a statement about any suspensions or fines or anything like that related to the fight.
Gun to your head. You think there were suspensions?
No, of course not. Number one, NISA's never collected a fine in its existence. Number two, NISA cannot and will not punish their owner's team, LA. They just won't.
Chairman of the board and majority owner.
Correct. They just won't do that.
Or maybe not majority owner, but the person who owns the most percentage of the league.
Yeah, he's majority owner. They're not going to do that. Number one, they just won't. Number two, George, the owner of the Michigan Stars, funds all the special projects, or helps out, contributes some money when a team needs to limp home to the finish. Like, they called George for that because he's been willing to do it because he wants a place, he wants a team, he wants to do whatever. So like, they're not going to punish George either, because who's the one person who just straight up forfeited a match because he didn't want to play it in this league?
Oh yeah, after the last fight, he forfeited the next match. They had a fight with us, and then
which was an away trip to California.
Exactly. Yeah.
So of course, like,
but at least they made him forfeit that one.
It did make him forfeit. It also didn't matter. Like, they weren't going to be in the, like, it just didn't matter. Like, but like, we don't know what happened. They probably didn't want to piss George off. They go to California.
So now this is where the fun thing is. So this whole brouhaha happens. I think nobody that's been paying attention to NISA for a long time was surprised that nothing came out publicly, and potentially nothing happened at all because of the dumbness that you just explained. But going to California, so George made the trip. You were betting he wouldn't. He did. George took the team out.
It just means he cares now.
No, I just meant you thought he might just like take his ball and not go, but he did. And then Allegedly, the internets, and we all know the internets are sometimes wrong, but I'm really hoping they're not on this one. The internets were saying there was a reason for the shenanigans at Albion. So there were a couple shenanigans that happened. You can correct me if I'm wrong. There were like 11 minutes of stoppage time in the first half, or 12 minutes, something like that. And the reason there were so many minutes of stoppage time in the first half is because the referee took a phone call during the game, and I don't think it was from his mom. I think it was from the league, because there was a protest from Michigan Stars that appeared about something that had gone on in the game during the half.
We think that somewhere in there, and you can look at FOTMob and see that there's a substitution made.
And if anybody else was watching this and has a better idea, we will take your comments and your feedback. Keep going.
There's a substitution made in the 11th minute.
Because we, like the Knights of NISA, also don't watch games.
There's a substitution made in the 11th minute, and then in the 18th minute, there's another substitution in which like another player replaces the player that subbed in the 11th minute. And the best that I can tell so far is that it's a concussion substitute. What I don't know, and what, by the way, I don't really care. But what I don't know is, like, do the rules allow a concussion substitute, like, to be temporary, and then you can replace that player with a different player? I don't know. But there's something regarding concussion substitute and the protocols, and NISA is the only league using concussion substitutes.
About the only thing that NISA is doing well.
Possibly in the world. Yeah, it's a great policy. It should be implemented everywhere. It's crazy that US Soccer got rid of it after a year. It's absolutely, well, I think IFAB got rid of it, and NISA just didn't update the manual.
Yeah, but also
it's
one
good.
of the few things
it's one of the few things that NISA does that it's actually smart and good and respects the player welfare.
Absolutely.
And players can't get paid, but we're going to sub you off if you might have a concussion.
Well, it's the referees that won't get paid.
Well, I guess if you play for
some of
Leone.
Some of the players are getting paid.
So, to my best knowledge, that's why there is a long gap. And by the way,
because Michigan would have been alleging that the substitution was made improperly.
Now, I want to point out that Michigan scores,
and this is hearsay because we don't know why.
Michigan scores in the 23rd minute, which is after the other substitution happens, and I note that they scored before the stoppage in play, because otherwise it would have been,
the 30th
much later. Excuse me, but like there's a stoppage in play, and we think it's because Michigan protests. It says that's an eligible player. We don't really know exactly.
This is what we're guessing.
But
so
like,
please, if you have more information, let us know.
But like phone call, like phones come out.
There's a picture of the referee on the phone during the game,
which is
so NISA.
So like I'd be curious if there's an actual explanation out there. But then you also have a situation. And by the way, Michigan does not come out on time for the second half. They are significantly late.
We believe because they're protesting.
Yes.
Now here comes some more hearsay, which is very fun.
You've also got a lot of the Albion folks on the internet are saying that.
Why don't you just read the tweet?
So like this is what I don't understand, because like there's some weird conflating things going on here.
Yeah. Well, by the way, this is the part that I'm not sure is true, but I hope it's true, and it's very fun.
But like apparently a Michigan coach was suspended. We don't know if it's related to the fight. We don't know if it's yellow card accumulation. We don't know who it was or anything really.
But allegedly there's a Michigan
coach suspended, and they were in the stands because they weren't allowed to be on the bench,
which is normal. That's how it works.
And by the way, you're even actually allowed to like be on the phone. Like someone on the benches, I'm pretty sure is allowed to have a phone. Like they're allowed to communicate. It's weird, but I don't think IFAB ever got rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, that Michigan coach procured somehow an Albion jacket, snuck onto the field with the Albion jacket, and then sat on the bench with the Albion jacket, and then went into the locker room.
Allegedly.
This is all alleged, but that, like, very clearly violating like the rules of what you do when you're suspended. Like if a player did that, they are an ineligible player and would result in that game being forfeited. Now, I don't know what the rule is for coaches. It's probably just a fine. Let's not get ourselves. And NISA, like I said, has never collected a fine in its history. So like, I'm just going to imagine nothing's going to come of this, because the cardinal rule with NISA is you can't punish George because he will take his ball and go home. Maybe. Or maybe that's just the excuse why you don't punish George.
This is why I love this so much. If he truly put on an Albion jacket and snuck onto the field to get to the locker room to give the team that is so fucking funny. It's bad. It's not. And by the way, Michigan Stars should be forced to forfeit this game if that did happen.
Absolutely.
But it's, first of all, we know that's not going to happen. And second of all, it's so funny. Like, this is so NISA, and I hate NISA, but this is the thing that...
This is the thing where I want NISA to continue to exist as long as we are not in it, because it's so incredible to watch at.
Yes.
But if you are inside the bus that's on fire, it's just a bus that's on fire.
Bingo.
I would rather be watching the bus on fire.
Yes, it is wonderful. Okay, I actually think we've spent too much time talking about then. So, Matthew, why don't we go straight to your 3 key takeaways, which I'm betting, because we share the same soccer brain most of the time,
this is gonna be
they're going to be about the same.
This is definitely going to be the same. So, spoiler, just don't expect anything from the league or about Michigan or really anything at all.
But if it does happen, what I really need is
I want NISA just to explain it, and then I want George to do one of those George's little tweet things.
I just want George.
I
just want George to make a statement. That's what I want.
Okay, 3 key takeaways. Number 1, clear step forward from Savannah, which was a clear step forward from Gold Star. There's lots of danger adjacent in the first half, which turned into actual danger in the second half.
Even before the red card, although the red card did help us.
Yes, correct. Number 2, you don't actually have to be great. You just have to be good enough. And honestly, that's what CFC was against Flower City. We were just good enough. We're going to need to be great, I think. Well, I guess technically you don't actually have to be great. You just have to be good enough and fortunate. But like, I think we need to play a little bit better in a playoff scenario. But also, it was pretty decent. Like, it wasn't bad at all. And at the end of the day, like, you need to win games, you need to play pretty well, and you need to get a little bounce to go your way, and kind of all those things happened.
Yep.
And just in case you're curious, we thought going into this game that there was going to be lots of bunkering going on, and we even thought that Flower City, who's played us very, very well in a heavily compressed mid block or in a bunker, that they would come out and do it again and just try to scrape away a point.
I for sure did.
And they came out and just decided that the calculus for 0 points versus 1 point just didn't matter very much for them.
It was 0 versus 3.
And so they came out willing to accept 0 points to give them a chance to get 3. And even though they played a little open, which meant they committed numbers forward and attack, they played a back 3. So there was a usually,
to be fair, they played a back 3 with 2 holding midfielders. Like, they were...
No. Just one. Calm down. Just 2 center backs and a holding midfielder in the back 3. But that did leave an extra attacker, usually out wide, available for crosses or available for some overloads. And like, it was at times a little scary, or like close to scary, or just scary if you're nervous like me, in that first half. But even then, like, we still didn't give up that much. Like, the chances that they created were just not ultimately that big. And I think you can just look at the 22 games we've played this year. We have 14 wins and a draw, 7 ties.
14 wins.
I'm sorry, 14 wins and a loss, and then 7 draws. Like, there's a reason. Like,
so
we're just a pretty good team.
Or damn good team. One thing you and I talked about right before going live was, like, if we, and this is just such a weird thing to think about, if we had 14 wins, 4 losses, and 4 draws, that would feel better than 14 wins, 1 loss, and 7 draws, because
we'd only be down 3 points, but like, we would feel way more normal.
Because since we have no losses, every draw feels like a loss.
We have one,
but you know what I mean? Because we have almost no losses.
Yeah.
Every draw feels like a loss, and that's not fair. That's not true. Like, we're incredibly good, and all those losses,
and some of those draws, by the way, like,
should have been losses.
Could have been a loss.
Should have been, in the sense that we rescued one at the end or whatever else. So yeah, I'm not. This is an unbelievable record. It's just weird to think of it that way.
Yeah.
My first point: defense is still elite. We still allowed very little. The only big, truly massive chance we allowed was of our own doing. And if we're gonna control our own destiny, and only big chances we allow are our own doing, I will fucking take that. Flower City set out to play. Same thing as you said. And look, we carved them up for most of the game. Didn't always result in shots. Big step forward. 2 more games to make progress, but I feel very, very good about this. I know we've said that before. And then sometimes you don't have to play a perfect game. You just need to show up at the right time and the right moments. And something that we did for the first, I would argue, half of the season is we did show up in those right moments to either get the draw or get the win. And then we kind of had that lull where maybe we didn't. And now we're kind of back to doing that. So I know it's only 2 games, but this feels right. This feels like a big step in the right direction. And I am very, very, very happy about the direction where we're going. Matthew, anything left?
No, I think we covered the games. We covered the progress. We covered the weird league shit.
I agree. Well, listeners, thank you for listening. Viewers, if you're on the YouTube, thank you for viewing us, and we will catch up with you very soon. Get those tickets for playoff tickets are on sale for November 5th, and don't forget October 25th, throwback game, $5 tickets. Come see that game, assuming Club de Leon decides to travel. That's a whole other thing. Peace.